Hello there, I'm Begalius, and this is going to be another slower sort of style gameplay where I should be playing Black Ops. I recorded a gameplay last night where I killed some real ass, and so I want to talk about something. Despite the goofy, dumb, stupid intro, there is something I want to talk about. I want to talk about the notion of, it's what I like to call the dead celebrity notion or syndrome or whatever. Do bear in mind though, that's not what I'm going to be entitling the video, because I don't want to get on some sort of FBI wanted list where guys turn up to my face with sunglasses that reflect and they're on their tricycles and Eric Cartman's there. And I've sort of lost my train of thought. I was talking about something and now it's gone. So I want to talk about the notion of the dead celebrity, and it begins with this idea that I first noticed it. It's something that I've really been noticing a lot recently. However, I first noticed it when Michael Jackson died in 2009, which is the weirdest way that I started a commentary. But it's this idea that, one moment we're sort of throwing ourselves at something in such a negative way and really attacking something, and then the next day when that thing dies out, when it goes and we're no longer able to access it, that thing it suddenly becomes the most positive thing in the world and something that could never do wrong, and something that you'll defend with your life and throw yourself in the line. And I think when Michael Jackson died, I think that really changed the way that we view this. And it came at the height of sort of when social media started to really take off, and I think it was the first big death that had happened post social media boom. And I think the social media and the internet in general has sort of led to a huge abundance of cynicism within people, and I think that we're sort of more cynical than we've ever been, due to the fact that we just have all the information that we need in front of us, and we have a voice and we have our ability to express ourselves. And obviously that's something that translates over to film and gaming and all of the things that I like to talk about and like to follow. That really translates to that, because we just have so much information about everything and so much ammunition for cynicism. And of course, that has I've noticed in recent years that it goes beyond that now. It goes beyond the sort of dead celebrity syndrome. And I don't know whether this is something that I have just recently picked up on and sort of learned more about and kind of figured out by my own devices, or whether it's something that's existed for a long time. But, with regards to the things that people come to my channel for, I don't just talk about, I don't just have a keen interest in games. I also have in film and music. And I think that this applies to sort of all entertainment platforms, but I'll try to relate it to gaming a lot, because there is, you're looking at Call of Duty right now, you're looking at Black Ops, and I think that gaming, especially recently, this is something that has come in a huge huge wheelbarrows full of abundance with regards to gaming. And this morning I was watching a video that was about World War II, Call of Duty World War II, of course, not the actual event that happened. And it's quite interesting, because all of the comments were talking about how this is an underrated game and it's a masterpiece and people were wrong about the game and I liked it all along. And no, you didn't. This isn't, and this is something that has been going on for a few years. And the time that I noticed it mostly was when I remember watching videos about Black Ops 2 a couple of years back, and people talking about how it's the greatest, Call of Duty experience ever, and it's the pinnacle of Call of Duty. And nobody was saying that when it was out. Nobody was talking about what a fantastic game it was when it was out. A lot of people talking about how it's a tired formula, how the graphics are wearing thin, how the gunplay isn't very good, the guns are uninspired and don't feel great to shoot, and the whole formula is messed up. The campaign isn't as fun as it used to be. That was the general consensus. I remember reading all of that hate, and of course all of that is overwritten by all of the people just spreading their love for this game now that it's inaccessible. And I think it's easy to grasp when it's a celebrity, when it's a public figure, and we look at something like this with this sort of thing that we can grab hold of and say, this person was so influential, and this person did all this, and this person did all that, and we notice it because we're humans and we see it, but we don't really notice it in entertainment products. Obviously, another big thing that's going around now is people calling the prequel Star Wars trilogy, the greatest trilogy of all time. And again, Jake Lloyd went crazy through online bullying because of that trilogy. You can't just retroactively rewrite history and just say that, this was the greatest trilogy of all time. It wasn't, and we knew that it wasn't. But then, of course, it takes The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi to come out, and whether these are good films or not, because they're the newest and because that's the way the internet behaves, the oldest sort of takes the position of, oh, now this is the greatest thing. And I think it's very telling of how the internet behaves and how the internet has affected us in a way. That it moves in waves, and people move in waves, and so a notion is sort of presented, and then everybody just grabs hold of it, and it accumulates and accumulates and accumulates, and then of course things change. And when it comes to things like albums, again, it's different because we attach someone to the album, and we attach and albums are consumed in a different way to films and games. And films and games are things that we come back to, and films and games are things that we don't come back to, whereas albums are things that we come back to, and albums are things that we listen to again and again and again, and we put on in the car. That's because they're a very passive entertainment form, and they're not something that we really have to put too much effort into and focus too much on, and we can do other things as we listen to them. And so, when Michael Jackson died, it wasn't Michael Jackson's music that was dying. People's opinions didn't really change on the music. People always liked the music. It was the person that had changed. And obviously, when it comes to films and games, it's the idea of the game or the film changing. And so we don't really focus on that as much as we would with a celebrity. However, I think it is important to note that this does happen. This is a part of the internet. People saying that Advanced Warfare was the greatest Call of Duty game ever made doesn't sound right. People saying that Black Ops 3 was received well, I've heard this said. It feels wrong in my ears, my ears don't really calculate it properly, because I was there when it came out, and I know it wasn't received well, and I know that people hated it and complained about the wall running and the advance movement and everything like that. And opinions tend to change on the internet when something dies out. And I think, not to get too psychoanalytical, but I think that the strain of that comes from the underdog strain, and the notion that we as humans, we love to support the underdog and push the underdog through the door and do everything we can to support it. And once a game dies, it doesn't become the prominent figurehead of that series. Like with the example of Call of Duty right now, Black Ops 4 is receiving all of the hate because it's receiving all of the player base and all of the microtransactions, and it's the figurehead of Call of Duty. And that's why people look back at World War II and say, I want to support this because now it's the underdog. So regardless of quality, these things happen, and I think it's just absolutely fascinating the way that people move, that people will completely just blanket over opinions that they had, extremely strong opinions that they had back in the day, in order to support an underdog, in order to support something that doesn't have support on him anymore. And I think that people will actually wait. I think people will wait for something to be the underdog, for something to be dead and to have passed through us, in order to support it. And I think that's an interesting notion, and it's something that maybe I'll explore more in the future. But I will say before I go, do bear in mind, if you take anything away from this commentary, just bear in mind that people's opinions they move in waves, and they move together, and they change, and I wouldn't take anybody's word for it that this is the greatest thing or this is the greatest thing if something has come out after it, if another iteration has come out afterwards. Take it with a pinch of salt, do your own research. It's just very telling that the internet's opinion is bullshit. It's just terrible. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you like this format, then again, let me know, and I guess I will see everybody later.